After 3 years of working with a récépissé, what is normally called laissez-passer, I was finally given my national identity card. For 3 years struggling to have the original copy of my national identity card. On numerous occasions, I've been at the police station to have my ID card being given. And when I go, they will tell me the ID card is not yet out. The receipt or récépissé or laissez-passer or temporary pass was stamped until there was no longer a space for it to be stamped again. They kept on putting papers upon papers upon papers. I want to use this opportunity to thank the head of state for my ID card and president of government. Hello and welcome for yet another edition of our program, House of Commons, with me, Tah Mai Jarvis. Today's edition of our program, we are looking at health workers and teachers if they have been relegated into the backdrop as far as the economy is concerned. Teachers play a key role in a nation's economy. They are the formators of the minds and hearts of every nation. And for any government to pass on an ideology, either a policy, the teachers are the #1 person that help to prepare the youth and the stakeholders in order to absorb this new policy to be instituted by the government or by the state in itself. For example, Cameroon's Vision 2035. It is a vision where teachers are supposed to help the state to prepare the minds of those at the secondary schools, primary schools, university, to see how in their own little way they can contribute to the nation's economy. They can help to buy the vision of 2035. However, teachers' working condition is something that many are questioning as to if actually they are being given the pride of place. In other countries, teachers are well respected. They earn good sums of money. They have good pension. In fact, their retirement benefit is something that one can write home about. And in the private sector in Cameroon, it is the worst. The private teachers have been left into the hands of their contractors or to the hands of proprietors, where government seem not to care about what the private teachers are taking home. Some of them, their take-home package cannot take them home, cannot even take them midway home, yet they put in their best to ensure that our children who probably doesn't have the opportunity to go to government institutions should have a good education, sound mind, and should be able to contribute in their own little way, way to grow the nation's economy. We have seen teachers, private school teachers, to be more precise, earning 30,000 francs in the nation's economic capital, Douala, in key centers, yet they put in their best to ensure that students are trained properly. We have also seen where CEOs or proprietors of private schools go with more than 5 cars, whereas the teachers in those localities, in those schools, are unable to put food on their table. Their shoes are bended, their trousers are down, their t-shirts are sold so many times, and yet they try their own little way to give the children the best of education. It is high time for our government, our private sector, to look. It is high time for our government to look into the private sector of teaching. The corruption, as many will blame the state of being corrupt, the level of corruption in the private sector is alarming. In fact, it is something that even a child will say, "Wulululu," because most at times these private schools call for application and they collect money from those who actually apply, and yet they will end up not recruiting even one of those. And this is a practice to most secondary schools in Douala. It is high time for the government also to see how these private sectors do spend their money, to see how these private sectors do put their teachers. Most of the teachers of the private sector end up going on retirement without retirement benefit. They don't even have social insurance being paid to them. And how do we expect our senior citizens to live a life that will accommodate the future, that will help to grow the nation? Imagine a teacher will teach in a private school for over 30 years and will not have social insurance benefit. This is not something that should be only condemned, but something that should be considered as a crime for any school, any private school which doesn't pay the social insurance benefit of its teachers. Same as health workers. The health workers on their part, we saw how COVID-19 came as they put their lives on the line. They had the life wires of every nation's economy. But we see how health workers are being poorly treated. Many nations, especially in the advanced country, health workers are those who earn a lot of money. But in our country, the situation is something that we are to ask if actually teachers and lawyers have been relegated to the backdrop. Instead, we give accolade to those who steal our money. We praise them when they come with sirens. We worship them. We say our elites have arrived. But when we get to our centers of health facilities, we call the doctors and give the doctors 1,000 and beg the doctor, "Doctor, we no get money, help we." Yet, this economy is dwindling and crumbling. What needs to be done in order to advance the state of teachers and lawyers, teachers as well as the health workers in our economy? This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Jarvis. It is a bright day in the nation's economic capital, Douala. This is House of Commons. We meet Tah Mai Jarvis from Cameroon's commercial capital, and of course, it is My Media Prime Television. We are emanating from the frequency 309 at Canal Plus, and of course, satellite MO17. You can follow us on Facebook on BT Media Group, and also on our YouTube channel, BT Media Group. You can follow us also on our Twitter page, which is My Media Prime TV, and our other Facebook page, which is My Media Prime TV. And also in future we shall be having our YouTube, another streaming platform, which is known as rumble.com, where you shall also be following some of our programs there. Here in the studio we are joined to discuss on this issue, on the condition of teachers and of course health workers if they have been relegated at the background. We are joined here by Desmond Emmanuel, who himself is a teacher in some schools across the nation's commercial capital, Douala. And Desmond, happy Sunday and thanks for joining us. Aisima.
Good afternoon, Tah Mai Jarvis. Good afternoon to my co-panelists, and a special good afternoon to all the panelists who make this program every Sunday. It's not always very easy to make it to the studio, and of course we must be able to congratulate those who always make it possible for the program. I cannot go deep into the program without expressing my sympathy to the people of Babanki, who are going through a very turbulent moment. Likewise, the receptive, the bona fide citizens, the law-abiding natives of the Comland, where I come from, whom for some weeks now have been running helter-skelter from the fear of the unknown. It is true that we all want peace in Northwest and Southwest, but the various methods put in place at times remains very questionable as to how can we go hunting people for 3 weeks and the culprits are not caught, yet innocent people are caught in the dark net. It becomes very worrisome, and we keep asking ourselves, to what extent can the measures put in place by the government actually go effective if the ideas of the commoners are not taken into consideration? Because in a strange land, in order to win any war, the people of that land must be in accord with you. If not, you are fighting a loose battle. We want things back to normal. And of course, I want to think that any war has the beginning, but we don't know when it shall end. But those who are belligerents in this war, I'm talking of the both sides, be it the amber, I want to think that it is better to live a life that you are struggling than to keep fighting and dying for what seems to be an illusion.
Okay.
It is time for all of them to have a rethink.
Here in the studio, we are joined by Mr. Suleiman, who is from Kumba, the commercial capital of the Southwest region. He is also a chief in the Muslim community. Saliki, salam alaikum.
Walaikum salam. Well, I think I've been missing for some time, and I think I'm back, and the topic we are going to discuss today is a salient topic concerning two professional bodies that we are going to explore. I think for now, Kumba is peaceful. We have a lot of rain in Kumba falling every day. We have fine people in Kumba, good people in Kumba, very obedient people in Kumba. You guys should just sit down and wait how we explore the situation.
Thank you very much, Nagode. Also in the studio, we are joined by Mr. Akeba Vitalis, who is also someone who shuttled between the Northwest and the Littoral region. I'm sure he's just coming back from Bamenda, what is normally called the grass field. And he's here with us. Mr. Akeba used to be, sure, at the educational sector, and you are a publisher, and you have a knowledge as far as the private and the secondary sector is concerned, and you are PTA chairman in one of our schools around. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tah Mai Jarvis. I happen to have come from a family of teachers. My father was a teacher, retired teacher now. My mother is a teacher. My wife is a teacher. 2 of my sisters are teachers. I've also been a teacher for 4 years in the private sector before I went out. So it is not really easy being in the private sector as a teacher. But I think, as we shall be discussing, we are going to explain most of the problems that these teachers they go through. I also want to take this opportunity to greet one of the teachers in Bamenda. It's my junior person in school, Madam Suibil Emanuela, and the rest of the teachers who are struggling to see that Cameroon will build a better Cameroon tomorrow.
Thank you very much for joining us. And these are the gentlemen we are waiting. Galim Dixon, who is also going to join us to discuss on this issue. And to begin the program, I will start with you, Mr. Akeba. Let us look at this situation very critically. Teachers play a key role in every economy. They are the formators of minds and hearts. Whoever we are today is because of teachers, either formally or informally. And on this note, we are mostly diversing or focusing our minds on the formal sector, formal method of education, which is the classroom. When we look at the current situation now of teachers in our nation, and let us compare it to what it used to be before, in the days of the former regime, how we strike the balance.
Yes, Tah Mai Jarvis, you know that with the exclusion of the population and the creation of many schools, and the fact that the unemployment rate in Cameroon keep on rising, teachers, especially those in the private sector, it has not been easy with them. I happen to have been there too for 4 years before I dropped, and it's not easy. It's a field where those who employ you to teach in their schools, they feel that they are doing you a favor. They treat you as if you are a nobody. And sometimes these teachers, they put in everything, all their effort, but what is given to them at the end of the month is very, very regrettable. Notwithstanding, when you look at the conditions of these teachers, sometimes they are even being employed without contracts. They can be employed and they can be sacked at any time. I've been working with schools for close to 17 years as a publisher, and sometimes when I listen to the stories being told by teachers of the private sectors, it is very, very regrettable. And I think that the advice I can give teachers is that they can come up with a syndicate that can defend their rights.
They have syndicates, huh?
Yes, but the syndicate of teachers of the private sector doesn't have any bargaining power, because most at times most teachers who are teaching in the private sector, they present themselves to the proprietors or the proprietors as people who are very, very desperate, and that is why most of the proprietors, they are able to use them as they wish. So teachers too should know that they are people of a noble profession, because some teachers sincerely are a disgrace to the profession. There are instances where we have had teachers sell marks to students. We have had instances where teachers, they have even raped students and pupils, and there are instances where teachers leaked exams to students. That when we are writing, when Jesus was being written, there was a lot of scandals being heard that teachers are selling questions and so forth and so on. So I want to believe that teachers should know that they are people of the noble profession, and they should try everything possible to see that they maintain that status quo.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kimbang. We have just been joined by Ms. Angalim Dixon, who is also here with us. Ms. Angalim, happy Sunday and thanks for coming.
Thanks a lot for inviting, and I'm sorry I came a bit late, but had a lot of difficulties getting here. Finally, I'm here. It's a pleasure.
The head of state said in 2014, it is better late than never.
Thank you for understanding.
Thank you. Also, we kickstart with you, or continue with you, Diwum Emmanuel. Diwum Emmanuel, I want us to look at this. How do you will look at this current situation of teachers before asking the question if they have been relegated? Within you are a teacher, and how will you assess the situation of teachers at this point in time?
In all honesty, someone said somewhere, there are two persons in life that you must be honest to them. The two persons are a teacher and a doctor, because your life are in their hands. Just imagine a situation where you are sick. I am making this allusion because today we are talking about two core professions in the nation, the medical field and the teaching field. The teacher's situation in Cameroon as of today is appalling. We must be honest enough to say that relegation even still has some weight. I mean, there should be another word that can be used to describe the situation of teachers in Cameroon. It is commonly said teachers are the nation builders of every nation. We also have to understand that teachers form the core of the thinking tank of every nation. The policy makers of every nation loiters around the teaching core. Tell me a minister who never went through a teacher. Tell me a president who never went through a teacher, and I will tell you that that person came directly from heaven and became a president or became a minister. The situation of teachers in Cameroon, both in the private like in the public sector, is appalling. I want to insist because just imagine the story of the young man who died up north last year, Amadou, who had worked for 11 years without salary, was working under the ticket of the public service. I want to start from there. The case of the teachers in Northwest whose salaries have been suspended because
some teachers,
yes, most, whose salaries have been suspended because they cannot go and teach, whereas the DOs who are acting on the suspension of these salaries are moving with ammo cars, they have gun proofs, they have artillery, military artillery all around them, with little or no protection offered to these teachers. Tells you that in a failed state like Cameroon,
no, where you say failed state?
No, in a failed government like Cameroon,
no, where you say failed state? Cameroon is not a failed state, because
an example of a failed state is a state where the person who is supposed to be the thinking tank of that state has been relegated, and that is a teacher.
No, let's go. Let's get. I agree with you on that aspect of teachers, but not on the phrase used about the
no.
Because let me come. You throw more light on it.
You again.
No, let me come. A failed state is described by many, or contextually, a state that doesn't have a sitting president, doesn't have a government, doesn't have rules and regulation, doesn't have, if it has a chaos. And if you would describe that of Cameroon, is that not an exaggeration to that context?
On the contrary, a failed state is a state that has a president who is not functioning. A failed state, a failed state is a state that has institutions that are not functioning, that are updated, obsolete, and that is exactly what I'm talking about. I am saying that there is no policy in Cameroon that protects the teachers.
I agree with you. I agree, but when you say when you outrightly categorize that have institutions that are not functioning, when we look at Cameroon, that is not the case in terms of institutions.
Name me one institution that is functioning in Cameroon.
Institutions are not functioning. For example, we are here in Douala in this peaceful environment now. It's thanks to the defense and security forces. We cannot say we are peaceful.
The defense forces.
No, excuse me. No, we are educating Cameroonians, I'm not against what you are talking about, the teachers, but when I'm looking at the word you use, which is a failed state. Because if we go contextually about failed state, we have some institutions that they may not be effectively in what we expect them to do, but they are functioning. The health corps, the defense corps.
And then that's why we are discussing it here today.
Yeah, but we are.
No, in the defense corps, I will be sincere with you, it is functioning, and we know.
Yeah, but you just categorize.
Listen. We know why. We know why the defense corps is functioning in the Cameroon. In the dictatorial regime, the defense corps must function. It's a must. Underline that word must. It must function because it has to sustain those who want to eternalize in power. You are just coming to join me, in other words. If the defense corps was not functioning in Cameroon, Mr. Abia and his acolytes would no longer have been there. But since we are talking about teachers today, let's look clinically at the teachers' situation. I am saying that a teacher in when we are even talking, and you are talking about the defense corps, before you interrupted me, I was talking about teachers in Norway whose security is never guaranteed, but they are forced to go to class, which is a suicide mission. At one point in time, it was on this platform, I asked the teachers to resign, that they should choose between their job and their life, because the state does not guarantee your security. What have been the impact of the DOs, the SDOs, the governors in all the regions of Cameroon? These are institutions that the common man does not feel their impact. Yet, the day-to-day life of the common man is in the hands of a teacher, is in the hands of the medical personnel. If these people are relegated to the background, what do you think? You want that I should come and say that it's a successful state because the teachers... I was talking about the case of Amadou who died. Somebody served the state for 11 years and dies without obtaining his salary. That is a successful state according to Tah Mai. Somebody serves a state for 11 years and his family is unable to visit a clinic because they don't have the means. We are talking about a country where teachers are trained in the GTTCs every day, government teacher training colleges every day. They are littered everywhere around. They have nothing. I mean, they are not recruited. Whereas we have ministers who are of no impact to the nation. They have at least a fleet of cars in their garage. You see the mission allowance and the bodyguards according to them to go for missions that yields no fruit to the nation. Yet the teacher remains that rack that have been used to sweep the streets in Cameroon. We are talking about a situation where, like Kimbang Vitali said a while ago, you need to see how teachers are treated in the private sector. Yesterday, I received a complaint of which I am struggling to lead it to one legal mind, Barrister Ashu Emmanuel, that somebody with masters was teaching in a school in Bepanda here. When the worst will come to the worst, I will call the name. She was sacked after delay salary of 40,000. She's paid 40,000 to teach class 6 because she went to the proprietor and said, "But even the 40,000 is very small. Please make it to be available on time." She was fired. I mean, breaking yesterday, she has been asked not to come back to that very school again. That her services have been terminated. Now, if it was in a country that institutions are functioning as we claim, there would have been a policy simply put in place where the private sector, the proprietors do not bargain the salaries of the teachers like it is done elsewhere, like in Ghana. You don't recruit directly. The state makes sure that the salary of the contracted teachers in the different private schools are paid through the state banks so that they can easily check the flaws of such proprietors. The proprietors now use these people as their racks, as their boys, and it was again that with the unemployment situation in our country, teachers' voices are dead. They are afraid. Just like this one girl who fell victim breaking yesterday. If you go to ask them, you are sacked, you are fired, and you will not take them anywhere. Even if you take them to the law court, they have the money to go and bribe there, and then you find yourself instead even wanting. That is what we are talking about, Tah Mai Jarvis.
Okay,
it is sad.
Let me just quickly ask you this.
Yes.
You say a failed state, though we take exception to that.
Yes.
We take exception. My media can take exception. I want to ask you, At the educational sector, GC is being written and results are being released. At the educational sector, universities keep graduating students.
Jobless students.
Students, whether jobless or not, students. At the sports sector, we have had sporting activities being organized in all the 10 regions. At the sports sector, we had the mountain race also was organized. At the sports sector, we see our national team representing the nation across different competition. At the public sector, at the recruitment sector, reform, administrative reform, we see recruitment of people at the different ministries still effective. At the transport sector, we see the construction of some road, though it may not be at our pace that we want or at our standard. At the health sector, we saw and we see how the Minister of Health keep moving in order to put in policies. We also saw policies that were put in place during and after post-COVID. Is this what you consider as a failed state?
Let me start with the sporting sector.
No, it's a yes or no. All these you consider as a failed state?
All what you have enumerated, they tell me one that has successfully taken place. In the field of sports, we are still talking about the McGill Ministry of Sports scandal today.
Excuse me.
Is that success? In our room that you are talking, every day we are losing citizens. Is that success?
You have not answered my question.
I say it's a fair state.
My question is yes or no?
Yes, it's a fair state.
Okay.
Yes.
Are you?
We must not.
Yes.
Yeah, I think if you want to be objective and found what we are saying, I think a teacher is supposed to be respected and honored. Because if you look the enormous task before a teacher, you see, in those days, teachers, money was not their problem. It's for you to see you write exam and pass. They are happy. They are happy that they have educated you and you have passed the exam. They are very happy. If you in modern days today, you see pre-nursery, primary school, secondary school, you see teachers all putting in their best only for children to become what they are. Coupled with these so-called social media things that have come, internet, the Twitter, you call them, they are all there. Only to make people, children, suit the contemporary situation of the education we have today in the world. Teachers are doing an enormous job. I could remember my principal, Pastor Mele. He's there now, he has left the school a wretched man. And that was a mission school. People like Pangende of Nyasoso, late Pangende of Nyasoso. Nyasoso was Pangende was Nyasoso. He died a miserable man. Look at Pangando from Sase, who was the longest serving principal in for 16 years. He came out a wretched man. Look, late Patime of Almighty Jesus Gumba. You know how many teachers he has educated? All they died frustrated. All they frustrated. So in those days, you see, teachers put in their best. They do all what they do so that children, Cameroon should have good manpower. But at the end, all frustrated. So I think when we come to contemporary situation now, even in those days, there were not even more schools. Only the few schools that we have, the teachers were there doing their way. CPC Bali was renowned, Secretary Mankong was renowned. It's because of the good thing that the teachers put in those schools.
But what has become of these teachers?
That's the point. That is where the crux of the matter lies. Now, most of them have died in a very frustrating manner. So even leave the school without even having a house, not to talk of cars. No, mission school in particular could not even handle teachers, providing good things. No, mission school didn't do that. You see, Pa Sumbelef is from mission school, Pan Kandu is from mission school, Pa Time was from government school, Pan Ngende was from all. You see, this is the situation. And those days, often, they put in their best. The students were not many. They make sure that, you see, one school is having 100%. The teachers were really collaborating, making the name of the school to grow. And yet the proprietors of the school got nothing to do for these people. They didn't help these people at all. They did not help these people at all. These people suffered. So now we have mammoth schools everywhere. Mammoth schools.
Has the situation changed?
It has been worse.
Yeah, in Kumba, how is the situation?
The point is that now the situation, you see, the teachers we're having now, they are half-baked teachers. They are not up to standards because they plagiarize notes. I call it banking education. What your teacher taught you is what you are transferring to our students. You don't do any research.
You don't look at the reality.
But you are asking for money. You are asking for money every day.
You write a handouts. If they don't buy a handout, you fail a student. That's how you make your money. Only to complement your prevailing situation in your house. So you see, a teacher has been relegated to the background. A teacher has been victimized in this country. The government has to stand up and whatever you are in this country today, who are you and what are you? Thanks to a teacher. He started by teaching you A, B, C, D. You have to respect a teacher. You are not supposed to undermine a teacher. I still respect my teacher up to the primary school teacher. When I see him, I greet him with all honors because he taught me A, B, C, D. That was why in Nigeria, where Obasanjo was president, the first thing he did, he added the salary of primary school teachers to 100%. 100%. Because he said they have been relegated to the background. They are so impoverished that they beyond redemption. So he makes sure they add their salary 100%, only to make them feel at least that they are recognized in the society. But here, that was relegation. They have been relegated to the background. I mean, teachers in this country, the government,
they don't even have the social insurance benefit. The worst from the private sector.
The worst is even integration.
Even those who are in the government sector to even take the social insurance benefit is a problem.
Even integration, you integrate them. You recruit teachers, you don't integrate them. You don't integrate them.
They finally go on retirement.
There's one thing they call in French where a letter of application. I don't even forget that they use it in English, in French. That you have to, they have to a letter of application. After you have been employed again, there's something they call what letter of application. I mean, all this type of thing, you are discouraging teachers, but yet they're still putting their best with the meager salary you are paying them. If that's what I heard Mudibu was saying, and the Tamfude that in Douala here, the thing is worse. Private teachers have used teachers as if they are slaves. They don't even recognize teachers as anything when they're somewhere, when they're nation builders. Please, in the name of God, let us go back and look. Let's go back to the drawing boards and see whether we can help teachers, we can build teachers, we can make teachers be what they are, so that we encourage other people to join the call.
Okay, thank you very much, Dixon. Your take on this? How is the situation of teachers? Derek, your situation, the situation of teachers. How do you look at the situation? Your take on this?
Well, I'd like to begin from somewhere. Permit me to quote a man I admire so much, Batiatus. He says, even the lowest man can rise above the heavens if tempted with the proper reward. I think the teachers have been victimized in this country, and in victimizing the teachers, Cameroonians have been victimized in their turn. And my main point for this, you know, every nation depends on the resources, the skills, the talents of its people for survival, especially in the future. Like they say, the youths are the future of every country.
Future leaders.
But I think we are in a situation where our youths have been deformed. Some time ago, you were talking about is a country really malfunctional, or is it really a failed state? I will agree it is functioning, but in which direction? It is malfunctioning. Yeah. It is malfunctioning because every country that is right thinking and that hopes to develop in the future would invest all the maximum resources it can on the education of its citizens, because it is the skills of these citizens that, I mean, is going to be able to uplift the country in every field, be it social, be it economical, be it whatsoever. If you don't invest maximum in your younger generation, there is no hope for the future of any country. And why I started by saying even the lowest man can rise above the heavens if tempted with the proper reward. Teachers and medical doctors have the life of every country in their hands. And I think where our teachers are, they are not able to perform at their utmost. They are not able to perform at their best because they cannot be able to survive given the prevailing conditions. I think it's become some sort of a jungle where the few lions that exist, I mean, they prey on every teacher in order to keep advancing, while the teacher remains at that level where he struggles to survive. A teacher is not supposed to struggle to survive if he has to bring the output that is necessary to keep every country moving. When you look at those two people, the teacher, the medical doctor, they're supposed to be kept as comfortable as anything could be. They're not supposed to be lacking in any way. Why? Because their services are supposed to be readily available whenever they are needed. And you would not expect someone who has to basically strive to see the family feed every day to be available to perform his duties when they should be performed. And the kind of salaries that have been given to teachers in this country, I think that is where the immediate problem with the educational sector of this country is. And it affects all other strata of life in the country. For example, you pay a teacher 30,000 francs. I know you may doubt it, but visit the private.
No, I'm not doubting, because actually it's not an issue of doubting. You
pay a teacher 30,000 francs in Douala. Is that 30,000 francs supposed to be used as bills money? Is it supposed to be used in renting the house? Is it supposed to be used in sending his children to school? Is it supposed to be used in feeding the family? When you look at that already, you would not doubt why some of the teachers, like Mr. Kimbang said, you will not doubt why some of them go to the extent of selling exam questions or maybe selling marks and some sort of things. The basic instinct of every human being is survival both of the individual and his species. And if the teacher cannot survive, what more of his species? We expect these malpractices that are taking place, they become but obvious, because the basic instinct is
survival. So what Darwin described as survival of the fittest.
Yeah. So I earlier said it has become a jungle of laissez-faire, a jungle where everybody does what he wants. He mentioned the situation of Ghana. I think I've always quoted the situation in Ghana. In Ghana, if you are of the private sector, a proprietor of a school or whatsoever, if you cannot drop the entire salary of your teachers in the state banks before the onset of every academic year, same salary like the civil servants, you don't pay a lower salary to teachers because you are in the private sector. No way.
Or you close down the school.
No way. You close it down. It is not functional. I think that is a country that has regard for its teachers. That is a country that understands that, I mean, the teacher is indispensable for the survival of the country, for the future of the country. And they do all what they can to invest in the teacher, because they know without the teacher, every nation will eventually fail. So I think the situation of the teacher in this country is too deplorable. What we call the basic salary, or the SMIC, I don't know the acronym for it in French, but it is too discouraging that you won't imagine a teacher sits there, sacrifices his life, trains citizens in the country, and at the end of the day, every other citizen that has been trained by this teacher, when he gets into other areas of the state, you would hear he has a transport allowance of $1.5 million every day for 30 days, whereas the teacher cannot be able to save 1 million in 1 year, no matter whatever loan and thrift scheme that involves in. So I think it's just to let you understand that the kind of disregard that has been given to the teacher and the doctor in this country accounts for why the lives of Cameroonians are becoming miserable. They're in danger every day, and everybody would admit the fact that Cameroonians are, I don't know the kind of word, they're desperate when it comes to services in the educational sector, services in the medical.
Let me take on some messages.
field.
Greetings to the men of the noble profession in the studio. The primary school teachers are the least looking low and suffering teachers in Cameroon. We just finished marking the first school living certificate at 15 francs, 25 francs, 30 francs a paper. We don't have a free day like other teachers. We go to school all day till 3 p.m. and our salaries are amongst the lowest. Our popular name is bank loan or overdraft. I plead that for our Anglophone system, let a law be passed that secondary school teachers invigilate the common entrance examination since they are to receive them. I say so because the bad policy of no repeating of unable children has turned to be an abuse on basic education teachers. The system rushes to imitate other schools in different countries with better standards and didactic material. Ma Agnes writing from Kumba. This one say, hi, good day to you all in the studio. Please, Mr. Jarvis, allow Mr. Emmanuel to say what is wrong with Cameroon. Cameroon as a whole has a big problem. It is really bad with this country. Our parents will work farm and send you to school. We finish and come back and join them to continue doing farming. It is bad. Let the government of this country change the system. I am Petit Pimang writing from Douala. Thank you very much, Petit Pimang. This other one says, Jarvis, send special greetings to Mr. Akumbon John, a seasoned teacher. Tell him to accept greetings from Christian Tebong at the production center. That you send special greetings to Mr. Akumbu John. Thank you very much, Tebong from the production center. I come to you. What happens to the subvention be given to these teachers? Because the state gives subvention to some private sector. And what happened to the subvention? And also, the second question I would like to ask you is that, yeah, we say teachers play a key role, but when we look at Cameroon's economy and the level of embezzlement, bad practices in government offices, can we say that also the land is from teachers, or something is wrong at the level after being taught, something is wrong after you leave that level?
Jarvis, my advice to teachers is that, first of all, let me advise the teachers.
But before that, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say something. Don't allow yourself to be used by proprietors. I've been a teacher. When I discovered that I was being used, I told myself, I took my certificate and said, okay, I put this certificate under my box. I said, I'm going to do something else that will fetch me more money than teaching. And I went into it and I discovered that they was giving me money more than what they were giving me in school. What Digum just said here, that somebody has been chased away because he was asking for a salary increment from 40,000 francs. And
somebody the masters.
Yes. Presently, there is somebody, as we are saying, if you want to check, there's somebody who's begging that very proprietor to give him classes for 30,000 francs.
What?
Yes, for 30,000 francs. That is the level where teachers have reduced themselves.
This is not because of the economy.
Yes, that's by the economy. But my advice is that teachers can also dive. The thing that we look at when somebody goes to school, maybe he has a degree. He looks at that degree to something that is very, very precious. That I must have a white collar job, and that is what is deceiving most of us. That's what is deceiving most of us. So I want to believe that teachers should make themselves in such a way that they should know that my services that you are hiring is not, you are not doing me a favor. It is because I studied so hard to get this certificate that you are able to employ me. But some of these proprietors, Jarvis, when I look at some of the teachers, I shed tears. I give an example here. One day, when I was visiting one school in Bepanda, one teacher came in the morning, the son was not well. So they say the proprietor, the owner of the school was not in school. So he went to the headmaster and said, okay, I want to rush my son to school, then I'll come back. When the teacher was coming back around 9 o'clock, the proprietor was already come. The lady stood at the gate and said, go back, you have been dismissed. The story ended there. First of all, the man does not have money that he can start a legal battle, and the time involved. So what happens is that he has to go looking for another school. If any school that's ready to take him at a cheaper payment salary, he will take it.
When you quote the case Bepanda, you quoted the case Bepanda. What's wrong with Bepanda?
It is just that there are a lot of proliferation of schools, and the most population, many people are concentrated around Bepanda. And so everybody wants to teach. That's the situation. Then talk about subvention.
Yeah, what happened to the subvention we given to this school?
I think that is where we have a problem. that is where we have a problem, because when you see the way some of these schools they operate, it is as if subventions are not being given to them, but whereas these subventions are given to them.
Yeah, because the
Subventions are given to them.
is to pay salaries.
Yes, but they make the teachers to understand that nothing is given to them. And nothing is given to them. Since the teachers don't have the powers to question them, to investigate truly, they will be forced to accept anything that's given to them. And teachers too are a problem to other teachers. Because when I've been in school where teachers blackmail other teachers because they want a particular position. Teachers have gone back to tell certain proprietors that, look, this amount of money you are paying this teacher, there's somebody who can do the work more than that, this teacher at a cheaper salary. So teachers, most at times when I look at teachers, there is a problem. Even when you go to the ministry, I've been to the Ministry of Secondary Education several times. Workers who are working there are some of the teachers who are recruited and some of them are posted to work there. When you go there, anything before a document leaves this office and cross to another office, you give money. And sometimes there are people that would deliberately take a document and hide it and say, okay, I have connections. If you give me this amount, I will search, I will look for the document and they will treat it. And since you are so desperate, you are bound to give money.
Okay.
So when you look at teachers, the reason why many of them are suffering, because some of them have dived into the profession not because it's a call for them, but it's as a means of survival. Yes, as survivor. I just want to survive.
So you are buying what Mr. Derek said, survival of the fittest.
Yes, some people are not there because they like this teaching. They are just there because they want to survive. And that's why we hear a lot of scandals coming out from schools every day. This teacher has done that, this teacher has done this. And some of these teachers too, sometimes they are unable to handle some responsibilities given to them by the government. Let me give you an example. Before the one book policy came into existence, government used to give at least 6 books for teachers to choose. I bet you I have paid bills in hotels for teachers. I'm so hotel. Come and pay my bills. If you don't pay my bills, I will not put your book on the program. That is how they abuse some of the powers given to them. And we have even had scandals where a female student brings an application. Somebody calls a female student, come and meet me in the hotel. You drop the application in my school. Come and meet me in the hotel. Let's discuss about your employment. That is the level where some of these teachers, they are put themselves.
But it's not because the government is not actually checking, especially the private sector. Is it not the role of your party which is in power to check this?
Jarvis, there are certain things that only your conscience can check you, not the government in power. Only your conscience can check, can say that, okay, this is what is right, this is what is good.
Okay.
If you think that every little thing must be checked by the government, I think we are making a mistake.
Okay, Doom Emmanuel, let's wrap up with this teacher issue so that we can move now to the health issue briefly on this.
Please, I wanted to take from where Mr. Akeba said.
Before I ask my question?
Yes, to think that when he says if we think that we must hold the government accountable for everything, that is where we are missing it. It's a false narrative. I want to tell you that the government is in charge of making policies. We here only have the rule to talk. And unfortunately, we are talking to a government. This is the only government in the world that does not take criticism as a stone to build their economy. Other buoyant economies in the world are the economies where the government listens to critics, even buy their ideas. Even they don't want to take the critics, they take the critical ideas, they build the nation. But in Cameroon, you are either a terrorist or you are an enemy when you become so critical. That said, he equally said something a while ago that the day he discovered that teaching could not pay him the amount he wanted, he quitted. which is a very good idea. It's a good thing that many people should follow. But just that it goes contrary to the vocation of that profession. Because teaching itself is a vocation. Everybody knows that if you want to get rich, don't join teaching. We are talking about ameliorating the conditions of a teacher. But if you want money, don't go to the teaching corps. If you want money, quit the profession as he did. But it remains a vocation to those who are born with that zeal, that likeness to teach. Because there are some people, I know people who have everything, yet the call, that inner call to teach, has kept them in that field.
Let me ask you my question.
Yeah, you can ask your question now.
We keep saying the teachers need to be treated with a lot of decorum and respect, and also their policies has to be put in place to ensure that these schools, private schools, actually pay their teachers the same level which the government schools do. Now, my question now is, when we look at a lot of the challenges we have in this state of our nation, we look at some of the bad practices at the level of the ministries, at the level of our hospitals. These persons who are doing this were trained by teachers. Can we say that there is need also to look at the magnitudes of teachers we have? Because they say you can only be the product of where you are coming from. So is the teaching called failing?
It's a very good question, but I want to remind you that these failures you are talking now are the same failures you denounced a while ago when I took the microphone. You told me that institutions were working. If institutions,
there's a difference between working and failing.
If institutions were working, Mr. Tah Mai,
no, you are misquoting me. No condition, no
is permanent.
No, not issue of permanent. No institution is 100%
okay.
without errors, without room for correction.
Understood.
Even in the United States. So my point was on you saying failure or failed. Yes. There's a level in which you can say it's work in progress. That's why we say work in progress. That's why we are here to criticize some of the things that are not working.
Understood. And again, you celebrated your ID card after 3 years.
Yes.
Which means that the system in place is actually working. We should be celebrating.
Yes, it's working.
Yes, we should be celebrating the little success. Yeah, you are back. I understand. I enjoy the way you are answering it. Now, coming back.
Came after 3 months.
Coming back to your question, I will not say that teachers are saints. They were not born to be saints. Everybody who is a teacher, because the first teacher in the first place was Jesus Christ. If a teacher were to emulate the working steps of Jesus Christ, we would have one of the best teachers or some of the best teachers in the world. But then human nature makes it in such a way that no human is perfect. Teachers are working towards perfection. But like every other corps, we have charlatans in that corps. We have people like those people who are ready to take any salary are those people who are not actually teachers. They want to take it as a springboard to get something better. That is why today you see somebody who is a teacher, tomorrow the person is no longer in the classroom looking for something somewhere. That is why today that person who is not actually supposed to be a teacher turns down that salary and looks for something else that can give more money. That is what we are saying. Now, looking at the situation, the moral decadence in our country, it is starting right from the top. Some of them who even left the seminaries, who were taught even the values of God, and today they are the worst administrators that we are having in this country. It means that the teacher does his job in the classroom, but the teacher is not supposed to follow you after schooling. Because society, when you do philosophy of education or sociology of education, you discover that there is a link between the school and the community. But then the school authority ends around the school vicinity. It doesn't extend to what obtains in the society. It's only the extension of the values that are acquired in the classroom that can be applicable. But when you are in a situation where even those who are supposed to make sure that they maintain order over what obtains in the community becomes law breakers, when they are the ones promoting moral decadence, who do you blame? Still the teacher? No.
Okay.
In that case, you have situations where You have ministers in place who are in charge of education. How often do you see them visit the educational? Because when I say it here, you tell me that no, you see Nalova Leonga every day. Schools in Cameroon are not limited to Douala and Yaoundé, Tah Mai Jarvis. It is supposed to be a chain of activities that they go to the field, right to the suburbs.
That's why they have sub-delegates now.
What are the delegates doing there?
They have sub-delegates, they have regional delegates. That's why we have regional delegates of education.
And what are the delegates doing there?
Okay,
they don't deliver.
Happy Sunday to you people in the studio. The CPGM regime cannot do anything to teach us because